Sean Diddy Combs just had his prison release date moved up by 15 days. And that's honestly the least shocking part of this entire situation. The real story here is that the man could be walking out of federal custody and into a halfway house by November of this year, 2026, while the KFD trial is still actively unfolding in a courtroom. I know that sounds insane, right? You're probably sitting there thinking, wait, didn't he just get locked up? Wasn't the trial supposed to put him away for a long time? Well, the federal prison system's RDAP program and the First Step Act credits are doing exactly what they were designed to do. And nobody seems to be talking about how fast this timeline is actually moving. Before you come for me in the comments, understand that I'm just laying out what the Bureau of Prisons projection system is showing right now. And the math is genuinely wild. If you're new here, we break down these celebrity legal sagas on Metro Society all the time. So hit subscribe and let's get into why this release date keeps creeping closer and closer. Diddy entered the federal system with a release date that was originally sitting somewhere around June of 2028. And that's already not that far away when you consider the severity of what he's accused of. But the system has a way of shaving time off for good behavior, for program completion, for basically showing up and doing what you're told. The man has been working in the prison library, putting in his shifts, doing whatever they ask him to do, and the BOP looks at that and says, great, here's some time back. So we went from June 2028 to May 2028, then to February 2028, and now we're at February 8th, 2028 specifically. That's 15 days earlier than the last projection. And I need you to understand that this is happening before he's even finished the RDAP program. This is just baseline good conduct, credit accumulating in the background while he's stacking other reductions on top. The system isn't waiting for him to complete the big program to start knocking days off. Every month he stays out of trouble, the math gets recalculated and the date inches backward. Now here's where the RDAP program changes everything. And I need to explain this clearly because this is the mechanism that's going to take a full year off his sentence in one shot. The residential drug abuse program is a 9-month intensive treatment course inside the facility. Diddy is projected to complete that program by the end of this month, July 2026. Once that completion is certified, the BOP applies a 12-month reduction to the sentence, and that 12 months doesn't get spread out or doled out gradually. It comes off as a block. So you take that February 2028 date and you subtract a full year, and suddenly you're looking at February 2027. But wait, because the math doesn't stop there. The First Step Act credits, which are separate from RDAP, also accumulate based on participation in programming and good conduct. Those FSA credits could push the adjusted date from May 2027 even further back to January or February of 2027. So now we're talking about the beginning of next year, not the middle, not the end. And we haven't even touched the halfway house eligibility yet. The halfway house situation is where this gets genuinely uncomfortable for a lot of people, and I get it. Diddy may be eligible for up to 6 months in a halfway house prior to his final release date. If you do the math on the most aggressive timeline where RDAP takes effect, FSA credits max out and halfway house placement gets approved, you're looking at September or October of this year, as in 2 or 3 months from right now. I'm not saying that's guaranteed. The BOP has discretion. The halfway house placement isn't automatic, but the eligibility exists. The framework allows for it, and the system is designed to move people through these stages if they meet the requirements. Diddy is meeting the requirements. He's working in the library, he's completing the program, he's doing everything you're supposed to do to earn those credits. The question isn't whether the mechanism works. The question is whether anyone in the decision-making chain will actually sign off on moving him to a halfway house while the KFD trial is generating headlines and the public is paying attention. Let's talk about the KFD trial for a second, because the timing on this is almost too perfect to be coincidental. The trial is scheduled to start on August 10th, 2026. That's next month. That trial has already been delayed multiple times. It was originally supposed to begin in 2025, then got pushed to February or March of 2026. And now it's sitting at August. Trials drag on. They get continued. Motions get filed. Witnesses become unavailable. The August date could easily slip to October or November, or even into 2027. And if Diddy is sitting in a halfway house by November of this year, while the trial is still plodding through jury selection or opening arguments, that creates a very strange visual. The man would be technically in federal custody, but living in a community facility with significantly more freedom than he has right now, while a courtroom is actively litigating the case that put him there. I don't think the public is prepared for that image, and I don't think the prosecutors are either. What's confusing me, and what should be confusing everyone, is that these sentence reductions are stacking up without him even completing the RDAP program yet. The date has moved from June 2028 to February 2028 purely on conduct and participation credits. That's roughly 16 months of reduction before the big 12-month RDAP credit even hits. The BOP doesn't publicly explain the exact calculation for each individual inmate, so we're left looking at the projection numbers and trying to reverse engineer what's happening. But the pattern is clear. The system is working exactly as Congress intended when it passed the First Step Act. The point was to incentivize rehabilitation, to reduce recidivism, to give people a reason to engage with programming. Diddy is engaging. The system is responding. Whether you think that's justice or a loophole being exploited depends entirely on your perspective. But the mechanics are neutral. They don't care about celebrity status. They care about checkboxes being ticked. I can already feel the frustration radiating through the screen, and I want to address something directly. People are going to be angry about this timeline. They're going to say the system is broken, that rich people get special treatment, that this is an outrage. And I understand that reaction, but the uncomfortable truth is that this is how the federal prison system works for everyone who qualifies for these programs. It's not a Diddy-specific arrangement. It's not a backroom deal. It's the First Step Act doing what the First Step Act does. The issue isn't that Diddy is getting special treatment. The issue is that the system is designed to release people earlier than their original sentence suggests. And most people don't realize how much time these credits can actually erase until they see it play out in a high-profile case. The original sentence is almost never the actual time served. That's not a secret. It's just not something the public thinks about until a celebrity makes it visible. Now, the variable that could blow all of this up is additional criminal charges. If new charges get filed either from the current case or from a separate investigation, the entire calculation resets. The credits don't apply to charges that haven't been adjudicated. But here's the thing about federal criminal charges in a situation like this. The district attorney's office moves slowly. Building a new case takes months, sometimes years. If there are other investigations happening, they're not going to materialize overnight just because Diddy's release date is creeping closer. The prosecutors would need to indict, and they need to do it before the BOP processes his release. That's a race against a clock that's ticking faster than anyone expected. And if no new charges appear, the timeline holds. I want to circle back to something that was mentioned about Diddy working in the library and what that signals to the prison administration. When an inmate consistently shows up for work assignments, stays out of disciplinary trouble, and completes programming, the system interprets that as genuine rehabilitation. Whether it actually is rehabilitation or just someone gaming the system is a different conversation, entirely. But the BOP doesn't make that distinction. They look at the record, they see compliance, they apply the credits. Diddy knows exactly what he's doing. He's been in the entertainment industry for decades. He understands how to navigate systems of power, how to present the right image, how to make the people in charge feel comfortable with their decisions. The library job is perfect for that. It's quiet, it's unobtrusive, it makes him look like he's contributing. And every day he shows up is another day of credit stacking toward that earlier release. The Carisha situation is a completely different conversation, but since it's part of the broader Diddy universe, I want to touch on it briefly. Her song has gone viral and people are outraged because kids are dancing to it. The lyrics are explicit, the content is adult, and the backlash is landing squarely on her shoulders. But I have to be honest here, the outrage feels misdirected. If a child has access to a song like that, the issue isn't the artist making adult content for adult audiences. The issue is the supervision or lack thereof that allowed a child to consume it. Carisha didn't market this song to children. She didn't put it on a kid's playlist. The algorithm did what algorithms do, and parents may not be paying attention to what their kids are watching. That's not a Carisha problem. That's a parenting problem, and I say that as someone who is not particularly a fan of hers. I'm being objective. The broader point about Carisha is that nobody should be surprised by the content she's putting out. This is the same person who was collaborating with Diddy on projects that had, let's call it, intense visual direction. She's not a gospel artist. She's never positioned herself as a role model for children. Expecting her to suddenly make quiet, demure, family-friendly content is unrealistic. The outrage cycle around her feels performative, like people are looking for something to be angry about, and her song happened to be the convenient target. Meanwhile, the actual substance of the Diddy situation, the release dates, the trial timeline, the system mechanics, that's what deserves attention. Let me give you the full timeline as it stands right now so you can see exactly how this breaks down. Diddy's current projected release date is February 8th, 2028. That's the number that shows up in the BOP system today. By the end of July 2026, when he completes the RDAP program, that date will be adjusted to approximately February 2027. The 12-month reduction applies to the sentence, not to the halfway house eligibility. So the math is straightforward. Then the First Step Act credits, which accumulate separately, could push the adjusted date further back to January or February of 2027 instead of May. That's the FSA doing its job on top of the RDAP credit. And then if the BOP approves halfway house placement, you subtract another 6 months from that adjusted date. That lands somewhere between September and November of 2026. That's this year. That's weeks or months from now, depending on how the calculation shakes out. The halfway house itself is not full freedom. It's a structured environment with rules, curfews, and supervision, but it's not a prison cell. It's a significant step down in restriction, and the optics of Diddy being in a halfway house while the KFD trial is ongoing are complicated, to put it mildly. The trial is supposed to start August 10th. If it proceeds without delays, it could wrap up by the end of the year. If it gets delayed again, which is entirely possible given the history of this case, it could stretch into 2027. And if Diddy is already in a halfway house or even on supervised release by then, the trial becomes a very different kind of proceeding. The defendant isn't sitting in a cell. He's living in the community. That changes the energy in the courtroom, it changes the public perception, it changes everything. I know this isn't the news anyone wanted to hear. People wanted Diddy to serve the full sentence, to face the full consequences, to be an example of accountability, and I understand that desire. But the system isn't built for public satisfaction. It's built on statutes and credits and administrative calculations. The First Step Act was passed with bipartisan support to reduce the federal prison population and incentivize rehabilitation. It's working exactly as designed. The fact that it's working for someone the public despises doesn't mean the system is broken. It means the system is consistent. And consistency is uncomfortable when it benefits someone you believe doesn't deserve it. The next major update will probably come in early August, once the RDAP completion is officially processed and the BOP updates their projection. That's when we'll see the date jump from February 2028 to sometime in 2027. That announcement is going to be everywhere. Every news outlet will cover it, every social media platform will react to it, and the conversation is going to be loud and angry and probably not very nuanced. But the facts will be the facts, the credits will be applied, the date will move, and Diddy will be one step closer to walking out of federal custody, whether that's to a halfway house in November or to full release in early 2027. The thing that sticks with me, the thing I keep coming back to, is how fast this is all happening. We went from a 2028 release date to potentially seeing him in a halfway house before the end of 2026. That's a 2-year compression in a matter of months. The system is efficient when it wants to be. The credits stack faster than people realize. And by the time the public fully processes what's happening, the decision will already be made, the date will already be set, and there won't be anything to do about it except watch it play out. That's not a criticism. That's not a conspiracy. That's just how the federal prison system operates. And now you're seeing it in real time with one of the most high-profile inmates in the country. Don't shoot the messenger. I'm just telling you what the numbers say. And the numbers say Diddy Combs could be out of prison a lot sooner than anyone expected.